My name is Chloe Arden, I'm 33 years old. And last month I did something that felt like walking off a cliff. I stood up at my own mother's wedding reception, in a room glittering with 200 guests, and handed her and my stepfather a single, plain manila envelope. Inside wasn't a wedding gift, it was a federal indictment. For nearly a decade, I sent my family $2,800 every single month, believing I was the only thing standing between them and absolute ruin. I lived in a converted garage, wore thrift store clothes until they frayed, and existed on a diet of pasta and discounted canned vegetables so they could have a comfortable life. Then, my brother sent me a casual snapshot from their anniversary cruise. In the corner, almost lost to the celebratory blur, was a room service bill. I enlarged it until the pixels bled. The name on the credit card wasn't my mother, it was mine, an account I never authorized. Over 9 years they had siphoned over $500,000 from a life I wasn't living. Before I share how that reception unraveled and everything that led to it, I need you to know something. If you've ever felt that knot in your stomach, that voice whispering you're a bad person for wanting to say no to family, pause this video, take a breath, you are not alone. If this story touches anything in you, please hit subscribe to Real Calm Stories. We're a community here. Drop a comment below, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It helps to know we're connected across the miles. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to the day my cage, beautiful and gilded, was first built. It was a humid Friday in July 9 years ago. The air conditioning in my first apartment was a window unit that groaned like a dying animal, but I didn't care. I'd just landed my dream job as a junior strategist at a boutique marketing firm in Chicago. Salary, $65,000 a year. My own health insurance, a $401K, a desk with a view of an alley that I thought was poetic. I was 24 and the world was a ripe, hopeful fruit. When my phone rang and Mom flashed on the screen, I answered with a smile. Chloe, sweetheart, her voice was thin, a frayed wire. I hate to do this to you, especially now. My stomach, full of cheap celebratory sushi, went cold. Do what? What's wrong? A long sigh, practiced and heavy. It's Robert, my stepfather. His consulting firm, the major contract fell through. They're letting his entire division go. The severance is a joke. She paused and I heard the click of a lighter, the inhale of a cigarette she'd supposedly quit. We're 2 months behind on the lake house payment. The bank is sending letters. I don't know if we can keep it. The lake house, the one my grandfather built, the only place I ever felt a sense of ancestral peace, losing it was unthinkable. Why didn't you tell me? We didn't want to worry you, darling. You're just starting out, building your own life. Her voice broke not into sobs but into a fragile, breathy silence. It was more effective than tears. I feel so helpless. I was already swiveling in my desk chair, opening my banking app. The numbers there felt suddenly embarrassing. How much do you need to catch up? Oh, Chloe, no, I can't ask that of you. Mom, how much? Well, the back payment is $2,200. But the propane tank is empty, and Robert's allergy medication this month was $300, and there's the insurance. She let the list hang, a precarious Jenga tower of need. I can send $2,800, I said, the number forming before I could truly weigh it. This should cover it, for this month and next, until Robert finds something new. The relief that flooded her tone was instant, warm and absolving. You are an angel, an absolute angel, just a temporary bridge, I promise, we'll get this sorted. I initiated the transfer that night, and I felt a profound, clean sense of righteousness. This is what you do. You are the strong one, you are the capable one, you are the daughter who fixes things. Growing up it was always this dynamic. My brother Leo was the son, charismatic, creative, a beautiful mess. He dropped out of 3 colleges, backpacked across Asia on a whim and came home with stories that made everyone laugh. My mother called him her free spirit. She called me her anchor. Leo got applause for his potential. I got a quiet, weighty nod for my reliability. My worth was inextricably tied to my utility. So when my mother called the next month, the septic system was failing, an emergency repair, the contractor demanded a 50% deposit. I sent another $2,800. And the month after that, when the vintage Jaguar Robert refused to sell, needed a new transmission. And the month after that, when Mom's stress-related migraines required a special, non-formulary treatment. The emergencies were seasonal, varied, and utterly relentless. But the narrative held. We are a family in crisis, and you, Chloe, are our only lifeline. I wrapped myself in that identity. It was warmer than the thin blankets on my bed. 9 years is 3,285 days. That's 3,285 mornings I woke up and made a choice for them before I made one for myself. My home was a 250 square foot studio apartment above a bodega in a neighborhood my co-workers warned me about. It was technically a converted garage behind a main house, with a bathroom so small I had to sit sideways on the toilet. The kitchen was a microwave, a mini fridge, and a hot plate. I furnished it with items labeled free on neighborhood forums and a futon that permanently dented my back. I called it urban pioneering. My colleagues at the firm where I now crafted million-dollar brand campaigns for luxury skincare would invite me to lunches at bistros where a salad cost $20. I brought my lunch, I'd chirp, holding up a container of lentil soup I'd made from a bulk bag. Dinner was often a single sweet potato, microwaved and split over 2 meals. Breakfast was black coffee and a banana. I became an expert in the carbohydrate-based food groups. My friend Maya, who started as an assistant with me, got promoted to lead a major automotive account last year. That was the role I was offered first. It required moving to the firm's Atlanta office. I can't relocate right now, I told my boss, my voice coated in regret. Family obligations, she patted my shoulder. Family first, I admire that. She didn't admire it. She pitied it and moved on. I watched my vacation days accrue like monuments to a life I wasn't living. 87 days, eventually forfeited. What if Mom needs me? What if there's an emergency? There was always an emergency. At my last dental checkup, delayed for 2 years because even with insurance, the cleaning cost $75 I couldn't justify, the hygienist frowned at my gums. Are you getting enough vitamin C? She asked too kindly. I shrugged. Just a picky eater. Liam from our legal compliance department mentioned once he'd seen my parents at the Gilded Oyster. It's the kind of place where they list the farm where your lettuce was born on the menu. Must have been a special occasion, I said quickly, my face flushing. A friend must have treated them. They've had such a rough few years. He just nodded, a silent, uncomfortable acknowledgement that my story didn't land. I was so busy being the foundation beneath their crumbling world, I never stopped to wonder why the foundation kept crumbling. Why after 9 years and over $300,000 in direct support, the ground was never solid. My friends were buying condos, having Barbies, trekking in Patagonia. I was funding a life of curated crisis. I just didn't know I was also funding the luxurious calm that existed between the storms they invented. My 33rd birthday passed on a rainy Tuesday. I worked until 8 p.m. on a pitch for a champagne brand. I came home to my garage, the sound of rain loud on the corrugated metal roof, and logged into my bank's website. $2,800, transfer to household support, confirm. The sound of the virtual receipt was a soft sigh in the quiet room. I opened Instagram, a form of digital self-flagellation. Maya was in Greece, a whitewashed village behind her. Ben from college was holding his newborn. Another friend was celebrating closing on a charming brownstone. My life, in contrast, felt like a monochrome study in lack. My last date was with a guy who suggested we get dollar slices. When I said that sounded perfect, he never texted again. My retirement account held $9,100. I wrote financial content for a wealth management blog as a side hustle. I knew the numbers I should have by now. The dissonance was a constant, low hum. My phone buzzed. Mom, Chloe, honey, I'm at my wit's end. Her voice was a dramatic whisper. Robert's back, he needs a disc replacement surgery. The specialist isn't covered. It's $15,000, we need half up front. I looked at my savings account balance, $412. Mom, I don't have $7,500, I can't, I just sent the usual transfer. A wounded silence. I know, darling, I know, we'll figure it out, maybe we can get another loan. Her voice dropped. Though our credit is so tapped already. The guilt was a physical anchor in my gut. Let me see if I can pick up more freelance work. The blog might have extra assignments. I'd been writing those articles for 3 years, teaching others how to build wealth I could never attain. You are the best daughter in the world, I don't know what we'd do without your strength. She hung up. I stared at my reflection in the dark computer screen. 33. Couldn't afford a new winter coat, but at least my family's fictional medical crisis had a hypothetical solution. The video call came on Saturday. Leo's face, flushed with excitement, filled my screen. Chloe, you gotta see this, he waved his left hand, a titanium band with a chunky, raw diamond. Ava proposed at Joshua Tree under the super bloom. Leo, that's wow, congratulations. The words felt dry in my mouth. Isn't it insane? We're thinking a late fall wedding. We want to do it at the Black Rock Lodge in Colorado. My brain, trained in budgets, did the math. That venue started at 80 grand for a weekend buyout. That's incredible, I said, forcing brightness. How are you guys planning to manage that? Oh, Mom and Robert are covering it, it's their wedding gift to us. He said it as if stating the sky was blue. They've had this nest egg set aside for years. Mom said it was untouchable until now. My blood slowed, nest egg, untouchable, while they were begging me for surgery money. That's really generous of them, I said, each word carefully placed. Totally, and Ava's taking a sabbatical from her gallery to plan. It's a full-time job. Mom said we could stay in the guest cottage at the lake house rent-free to save. Let me be clear. My parents were destitute, facing financial abyss monthly, but had a six-figure wedding fund. My brother, a freelance photographer with irregular income, was living in their guest cottage, planning a luxury wedding funded by the same well of despair they kept showing me. Are you still doing the commercial shoots? I asked, clinging to a shred of logic. Nah, scaled back. Ava's trust fund covers our basics once we're married. No point in the grind, you know, he grinned. Why stress? The math wasn't mathing. The universe had 2 sets of books, and I was only allowed to see the one written in red ink. Sounds like a dream, I whispered. You'll be there, right? I know you're busy saving the world and all, he laughed. But you can't miss your big bro's wedding. Wouldn't miss it. After the screen went black, I sat in the gloom of my garage. The neighbors' laughter filtered through the wall. I took out a notepad and finally did the terrifying arithmetic. $2,800 x 108 months. $302,400. Where did it go? A cold, slick feeling of dread began to pool in my chest, but I was a master at compartmentalization. I sealed the feeling away. Wednesday evening, I was the last one in the office, refining a social media strategy for a high-end jewelry client. The silence was a blanket. My phone chimed. A notification from a family album Leo had shared. I clicked. It was a photo from my mother and Robert's humble anniversary dinner. The caption read, 19 years with my rock, celebrating at La Perla. I knew La Perla. It was the impossible to get into Italian place in the West Loop, where the tasting menu was $250 per person, before wine. The image was all soft focus and golden light. Crystal flutes, mother smiling behind a candle, Robert with a glass of something amber. They looked prosperous, serene. My eye, trained to find the detail in the blur, caught it. On the edge of the linen-draped table beside a bread basket was the leather folio holding the check. It was open. Inside, the white slip. I pinched the screen, zoomed. The image pixelated, but the embossed letters at the top of the credit card were just discernible. C. Arden. My name's not Elena Arden Wright, not Robert Wright, my name. I couldn't draw air. My hands turned to ice. I fumbled for my password manager, opened my credit monitoring service, the one I paid for, the one I told all my clients was non-negotiable. No new alerts. I manually refreshed. Nothing from La Perla. A deeper, more terrifying instinct took over. I navigated not to the alerts but to the full report. I requested a refresh. The page loaded, agonizingly slow. And there they were, not one unknown account, 5. A Chase Sapphire card, opened 4 years ago. Balance, $52,118. A CT Diamond Preferred, opened 6 years ago. Balance, $41,877. An American Express Platinum, opened 5 years ago. Balance, $78,442. A store card from a high-end home furnishing boutique, opened 3 years ago. Balance, $15,299. A personal line of credit with a regional bank, opened 7 years ago. Balance, $112,500. Total, $300,236. I stared, the numbers swam. $300,236 of debt. My debt. Debt attached to my social security number, my date of birth, my life, but not my signature. I'd never seen these accounts. Then I saw the payment history. All minimum payments, made on time, every single month for years. I opened a new tab, pulled up my own bank statement history. I created a simple, horrifying spreadsheet. Column A, date of my $2,800 transfer to Mom. Column B, amount. Column C, date 2 days later. Column D, 5 separate outgoing payments from their bank account which I had access to for bill pay assistance, totaling roughly $2,800. I traced one. It went to Chase, the minimum payment on the Sapphire card. I traced another. It went to CT. The room tilted. They were using my guilt money to service the minimum payments on the secret debt they'd taken out in my name. It was a closed, self-perpetuating system. My life's energy was being used to maintain the lie that was strangling my future. Chloe, Liam's voice came from the doorway. He was back for his briefcase. You all right? You look ghostly. I couldn't speak. I turned the laptop screen toward him. He stepped in, his compliance officer brain engaging. He scanned the spreadsheet, the credit report, his face hardened. Chloe, this is fraud. This is organized, premeditated financial fraud. They're my family, I whispered, the words ash in my mouth. They are criminals who picked you as their victim, he said, his voice quiet but firm. This, he pointed at the screen, is a forensic blueprint of exploitation. The nausea rose, bitter and hot. I thought of the Lexus SUV they'd bought used from a friend last year. I thought of the girls' trip to Santa Fe my mother took. I thought of my credit score, which had mysteriously dipped last year, preventing me from qualifying for a better apartment. It all snapped into a hideous, clear picture. I texted Leo, we need to talk, the anniversary dinner photo. 3 minutes of typing bubbles, then, what about it? I sent him the zoomed-in screenshot, a red circle around the credit card. Why is my name on the bill, Leo? The bubbles appeared, disappeared, finally it's complicated, call you tomorrow. He knew the evasion was confirmation. I didn't wait until morning, I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, voice infused with its usual performative warmth. Darling, what a nice surprise. The credit cards, Mom, the 5 accounts in my name, explain them to me. My voice was flat alien. Silence, then a light, airy laugh. Oh, those, Chloe, don't get yourself worked up. We had to do that years ago when things were so dire. Our credit was ruined after Robert's business. You have such good credit, we thought you'd want to help. You thought I'd want you to commit felony identity theft. The words felt dramatic, but they were the only true ones. Don't you dare use language like that. Her voice sharpened, the warmth vanishing. We are your parents. We clothed you, educated you, supported your dreams. This is what family does, we support each other. I have been supporting you, to the tune of over $300,000. That was for basics, she shrieked, the mask fully off. This is for maintaining our standing. For Leo's wedding, we have appearances to keep. You wouldn't understand, you've always been so content with so little. I heard Robert grumble in the background. Elena, hang up, she's being hysterical. Did Leo know? I asked, my voice terrifyingly calm. A pause. He might have used a card or two for gas, for things we needed. We told him it was a family account. I ended the call. I sat in the dark office for a long time, then I called Liam back. You said you could help, I'm ready. I need to pause here. Right here in the numb, shattered silence after the truth explodes. Many of you know this feeling, the ground giving way, the people who were your home revealed to be the architects of your prison. That voice that says, but their family, maybe I'm overreacting. That voice is their voice implanted in you. It's not yours. If you're wrestling with that, please type me too in the comments. You're not screaming into a void. We're here. And if you're invested in this story, in Chloe finding her way out, hit that subscribe button. It truly helps. Now let's go back to the beginning of the end. Liam came over to my garage apartment with 2 laptops. We worked at the wobbly folding table I used as a desk. We need to build an evidence file, he said, not as a friend but as a professional. Step 1, emotionless documentation. For 3 hours we worked. We created a master timeline. Every plea for money, every emergency, every transfer. We matched them where we could to fraudulent charges made days later. A $4,000 transfer for a new roof coincided with a $3,800 charge at a designer outdoor furniture store. A $2,800 transfer for property taxes was followed by a $2,650 charge for a first-class airline ticket to Phoenix. The pattern was a perfect, sickening rhythm. Liam pulled up the transaction details on the Amex. Look at this, recurring monthly charge, Azure Hills Country Club, $550. He looked at me. Your parents belong to a country club. I remembered my mother mentioning meeting a friend for coffee at the club. I pictured a diner. What about Leo? I asked, my throat tight. Liam filtered the CT card transactions. Dozens of charges at bars, restaurants, electronics stores, a ski resort in Aspen. Many were chip and pin transactions, meaning the physical card was present. He's an authorized user on this one, Liam said softly. He's been swiping a card with your name on it for years. The betrayal was now a layered thing, sedimentary, built over time. You need to file a report with the police. And the FTC for identity theft, Liam said. This is beyond civil, this is criminal. They're my family, I repeated, the automatic conditioned response. Chloe, he said, leaning forward, what would you tell a client who came to you with this file? I looked at the spreadsheet, the columns of data that told a story of predation. I knew the answer. I'd tell them to protect themselves, immediately and without remorse. Then be your own client. The next 10 days were a blur of grim, detached action. I became a stranger to myself, a cold, efficient machine. I obtained official credit reports from all 3 bureaus. I filed fraud disputes with each creditor, forwarding copies of the police report I filed the next morning at the downtown precinct. I placed a hard freeze on my credit with all 3 bureaus. I downloaded every text message, every email, saved every voicemail from the last 9 years. I built a binder. It was 47 pages thick. It contained a narrative of my own financial evisceration. My mother called midweek. Chloe, honey, we're in a bind. Robert's physical therapy isn't covered. It's $400 a session. I put her on speaker. I hit record on my phone. Mom, about the credit cards, the American Express, the Chase card. Oh, those are fine, darling, we're managing them. Don't you worry your head about it. You're managing them by using the money I send you to pay the minimums, aren't you? A flustered, nervous laugh. It's not like that, it's just moving money around within the family. It's not a crime to help your family, Chloe. Got it, an admission in her own words. I met with the detective assigned to my case, a woman named Reyes with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She flipped through my binder. This is exceptional work, Ms. Arden. You've essentially done the investigation for us. She looked up. These are serious charges. Aggravated identity theft, wire fraud, conspiracy. If convicted, your parents and potentially your brother are looking at federal time. This will tear your family apart. Are you prepared for that? I thought of the family that already was a mirage. They tore it apart when they decided I was their financial resource, not their daughter. Detective Reyes nodded. The DA will move on this. We'll get warrants for their financials, but it takes time. She paused. You know, most people in your situation never get this far. The guilt stops them. The guilt is how they kept me paying for 9 years, I said. I'm done financing my own manipulation. As I left the precinct, I had a realization. The annual family and friends dinner, a lavish catered event my mother hosted to show off the lake house, was in 3 weeks. It was her pinnacle of social performance. 200 people. A curated display of the Wright family's effortless grace and prosperity. I went back to Detective Reyes. I'd like a copy of the filed report, the official one with the case number. She printed it, slid it into a heavy, formal envelope from the district attorney's office. She understood. You're going to tell them. They've spent a decade telling everyone a story about me, I said. The stingy daughter, the workaholic, the one too focused on her career to be truly generous. It's time they heard the real story. From the beginning. The plan was simple. Attend, be calm, be pleasant, wait for the perfect moment. It came after dessert. As servers circulated with trays of artisan chocolates and cognac, my mother, radiant in a new silk dress, tapped her crystal flute. Thank you everyone for sharing this beautiful night with us, she began, her voice carrying over the murmuring crowd. Family is everything to Robert and me, it's the foundation. We've always taught our children that when you have, you give, that true success is measured by how you lift up those around you. Her eyes swept the room, landing briefly, pointedly on me. A subtle, performative sigh. Of course, not everyone embraces that lesson with the same open heart. Some get so caught up in their own world. She was setting the stage, casting me once again as the selfish one, the contrast to her generous spirit. I stood up, the chair scraped softly on the stone patio. 200 faces turned. You're right, Mom, I said, my voice clear and steady, carrying in the sudden quiet. Family is everything, and you've taught me an incredible lesson about what family truly means. A flicker of confusion, then irritation, crossed her face. Chloe dear, not now. I think now is exactly the time, I said, picking up the DA's envelope from my lap. Since we're talking about giving and lifting people up. For the past 9 years, I've given you $2,800 every single month. That's $302,400. Because you told me you were about to lose this house, that you couldn't pay for medicine, that you were drowning. The crowd was utterly still. Robert had gone pale. I lived in a 300-square-foot garage, I continued, pulling out my phone. I'd preloaded the photos. I passed it to my aunt, sitting nearby. I ate lentils and oatmeal so you could keep up appearances. I turned down promotions, didn't take vacations, didn't save for my future because you were my family. And I believed you. My aunt's hand flew to her mouth as she saw the image of my tiny, bleak apartment. And then I found out, I said, pulling out the credit report summaries, that while I was sending you that money, you were also spending on 5 credit cards and a line of credit in my name, totaling over $300,000 in debt. Debt I never authorized. Debt you've been using my money to make the minimum payments on. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother's face was a mask of fury and terror. That is a lie, how dare you? I held up the official envelope. This is a copy of the criminal indictment filed with the district attorney. Case number 2024 FR 5542, charges of aggravated identity theft, wire fraud and conspiracy against Alina Ardenwright and Robert Wright. I looked directly at Leo, who was shrinking in his seat, and potentially others as accessories. The silence was atomic. Then it shattered into a cacophony of whispers, exclamations, chairs pushing back. You ruined this, my mother screamed, tears of rage now streaming. You've ruined everything, you vile, ungrateful girl. I turned to the crowd, to the faces of distant relatives, their friends, their neighbors. For years you've all heard I was the difficult one, the cold one, the one who didn't help enough. Now you know what I was helping with. I was funding a fraud. I was the victim of a long-term, calculated financial crime perpetrated by my own parents. I placed the indictment envelope on the table in front of my mother. You wanted to teach a lesson about family, Mom. Here it is. The lesson is that exploitation is not love. And I am done being your lesson. I walked out. I didn't look back at the ruin. I got into my 12-year-old car, and for the first time in nearly a decade, I took a full, deep, unimpeded breath. It felt like coming up for air after a lifetime underwater. What followed was a landslide of consequences, both legal and social. The warrants were executed, their accounts were frozen, the country club membership revoked. The nest egg for Leo's wedding was seized as potential proceeds of fraud. Leo's fiancée left him. My aunt and uncle came forward. They'd loaned my parents $20,000 for a can't-miss investment that never existed. The story spread through their community like wildfire. The facade of the perfect, gracious Wright family collapsed into dust and criminal charges. They took a plea deal, 18 months in federal prison for each of them, plus 3 years of supervised release, and a restitution order for the full $600,000 plus. They had to stand in court and allocute, to state publicly for the record exactly what they did. Leo received probation and community service. The lake house was sold, the proceeds going toward restitution. My recovery was slow, methodical, and deeply personal. I worked with the credit bureaus to permanently remove the fraudulent accounts. My score climbed. I used the first restitution payment to put a security deposit on a real, sunlit one-bedroom apartment with a kitchen that had a stove and an oven. I bought a bed. A real bed, with a frame and a mattress designed for sleep, not penitence. I accepted the transfer to the Atlanta office. I said yes to a date with a man who teaches history and didn't flinch when I suggested we go Dutch. Therapy helped me untangle the wires of guilt and obligation they'd hardwired into me. I learned that no is a complete sentence. I learned that love does not demand the obliteration of the self. I am 33 years old. I have $18,000 in savings. I have a job I love in a new city. I have friends who see me, not my utility. Most importantly, I have myself. The self they tried to bury under a mountain of debt and duty. I dug her out. People ask if I'm angry. I was, now I am at peace. People ask if I forgive them. I do not. Forgiveness requires remorse and they have none. They feel victimized by my refusal to be victimized any longer. That is not my burden to carry. My story is extreme, but the pattern is hauntingly common. The emotional manipulation, the weaponization of family duty. If you see yourself in any part of this, if you feel that squeeze in your chest when a family member asks for money, if you're hiding your own financial reality to sustain someone else's fiction, please hear me. Your first duty is to your own survival. Protecting yourself is not selfish, it is sacred. Check your credit report, freeze your credit if you need to. Pay bills directly, never give cash, keep records, and know that family is a verb defined by action. Love does not look like this. Thank you for listening to my story. If it meant something to you, please share it. Someone out there might need to hear that they can say no, that they can walk away, that they can breathe again. If you want to hear more stories of real people finding their strength, their calm, their voice after the storm, please subscribe to Real Calm Stories. Hit the like button if this resonated. And tell me in the comments, what's one small boundary you're going to honor for yourself this week? Your journey back to yourself starts with a single, quiet no. I'm Chloe Arden, and this is My Calm.